Hello and welcome to My Language Labs, teaching My Language Labs sections as a section instructor. My name is Victoria Walker and I will be facilitating today's workshop with you, alongside you here. I actually teach Spanish at a couple of colleges in the state of Kentucky. I live in Midway, Kentucky, which is about 30 minutes west of Lexington. You may have heard of Lexington, Kentucky, or about an hour east of Louisville, Kentucky. And I teach at St. Catherine College, which is actually in St. Catherine, Kentucky, as well. I teach an online program there, or online classes there for them from a program that I designed using my Spanish lab for online delivery, and then I also teach at one of our community and technical colleges in the state of Kentucky as well. And I teach introductory Spanish there in a face-to-face delivery. So let me give you a quick just let's glance at the agenda that what we have in store for today's webinar. And first of all, you'll see that it's a little bit lengthy here, but we will be able to proceed through this, I'm thinking, in about an hour. We will talk about several things. And first of all, we're going to talk about course access and preparation. You know, what do we do? What do we need to start? How do we enroll? Let's say we want to personalize our course. Where are the resources and the materials that are going to be helpful for us, locating those? What kind of preferences are already set? Do I need to make any adjustments there? Scheduling options, assignment due dates, and then how do we look at the course that we build as if we were the student. We will also be taking a look at how to review and edit student submissions as well as analyzing the results. So, you know, how do we do that? I'll walk you through step by step how to manipulate and access the grades that are there for you in the grade book, as well as how to do some editing there, whether maybe I want to change a student's grade that I have and give extra points, or maybe I've curved an exam, something along those lines. We'll make sure that we cover that as well. Finally, we're going to look at tracking student progress. How do we analyze the results? How do we download grades and things along those lines, produce reports, find that data? How do we kind of gather the data that's going to be important for us as we look at the success of our course and the different objectives that we have? We'll also look at student intervention and communication. What are the items within the My Language Lab that will help us to retain our students as well as to communicate with them within the system? All right. Now, I would like to mention, and you may have seen this from the page here before, that there are 0.3 continuing education credits, or CEUs, that you can receive as a result of attending this workshop, as well as completing a workshop project that goes right along with this workshop, and it's estimated to take about 90 minutes. So between those two things, you'll be graded on that by Pearson. Between those two action items, attending the workshop and then completing the project, you will be eligible to receive 0.3 continuing ed credits, which is wonderful as far as, or actually, units, I guess they're called, continuing education units. And it's wonderful if you are coordinating. I know you are coming in as a section instructor, want to learn more about being a section instructor, but if there's ever a time where you're coordinating, you might think about having your TAs or GAs or adjuncts or independent instructors come in and attend these workshops as well as do the projects, which would be wonderful development for them professionally, and then you have something to actually corroborate their participation, and to substantiate that. So keep that in mind. Now, without further ado, I'm going to pop on over here to the actual sign-in page from My Language Lab. Now, what you need as we talk about accessing our course and preparing to actually create the course, what you're going to need already would be, let me get signed in here, would be a course ID for your specific course. So basically, let's say that you want to create a course. So you would actually, probably you're already going to be given that number, because you're coming in your role here, or the assumption here for this workshop, is that you have been already given a course identification for the course that you'll be teaching. So, for example, maybe you're at a larger institution where you have a program coordinator who actually sets up the template for you, download the program, set up the master template, and then from there create sections to distribute to the faculty who will, adjuncts, TAGAs, who would be teaching those particular sections. So, I was recently in Texas, at the University of Texas, and sure enough, they have a larger program, a large a coordinator there, and then that coordinator actually would issue the course IDs to each of the section instructors. So that's kind of the assumption that we're going at here, is that you have received a course ID from your coordinator, from your division chair, from the dean. Someone has given that to you. From there, you would take that number, and you saw what I did just a moment ago. If I cancel it out, all I'm going to do is enroll in a course, and that's what you would be doing. So you would be inputting that number right here in order to get on in. All right. Now, I can't go any further because I don't have an actual, like a dummy code course ID that would work here. But that's how you would actually get into your course. You log into your MyLanguageLab, and then once you're in, you would choose the option to enroll in a course. Very quickly, if you're going to be a section instructor but you were not given the actual course ID, you can go ahead and download your own program and course if that's going to be much quicker for you. Let's say that you've got, you're trying to get Spanish here, and let's say that the coordinator just said, hey, go do it on your own. So you're a section instructor, but you're also kind of running everything on your own as well. Then you could just browse by topic. I chose Spanish, and then you would select the program that you want to actually download into your account. All right, and from there you would then you could create your own sections from there. All right. So at this point, let's say you have a section. All right, and you're already enrolled in that, and that's what I'm going to go find right now. I'm going to go into this one's one that I can manipulate. So I have my section, and I'm going to come into it. And what I want to do now is I want to actually assign at my syllabus, right, because my syllabus is going to give me some important information as far as that might be pertinent here for the language lab and for how I'm doing homework. It depends on whether you are teaching strictly online or whether you are also perhaps teaching hybrid, split model, or you're teaching everything is just face-to-face. So, it depends on, you're going to need as much information as you can get, and there may be some information in the syllabus that will be helpful as you design or teach from a section. Now, the assumption for this workshop is that the section has been created for you. You've been given the course ID in order to enroll. Now, that may mean that you have no autonomy whatsoever, that you can do really nothing to your section because a coordinator, division chair, somebody has already created the section for you and has all the preferences and settings the way they want. They may have even already assigned the assignments to the calendar with due dates and such. I've done that for my own adjuncts before because I was teaching from this section as well as coordinating, and it seemed pointless for someone else to have to redo what I was doing anyway. So it was very easy for me to offer the adjuncts course IDs that already had assignments loaded to the calendar. So, there are so many different roles that you may have. There are so many different scenarios we could even imagine. But let's just say you've been given the course ID and now you're running with it. How do you actually assign activities to the calendar? So right here, you click on the assignment calendar. It presents pretty much the same, except out to the left, you're going to see a long list of possible options where you can go dig around a little bit to find the activities that you want to assign. So let's just go for Chapter 1, and let's go for the Student Activity Manual. That's where the daily grind of the homework is going to be found. You can also see at a glance which items have a pencil mark, which means they are instructor graded. That means the submission comes to your attention, and then you have to grade it individually, student by student. If it does not have a pencil icon, that means it's auto-graded. some of the other symbols here, if you see this little, it looks like a play button, and if you hover over it, you'll see that it, whoops, I'm not sharing my screen. It would help a lot if I share my screen with you. So let me go back, and I am so sorry. Let me share my screen, my desktop. I just accidentally forgot to do that. So I may backtrack a little bit so that you can see where I am. Although technically, let me just show you from the home page and how you actually get back in. Just very quickly here, let me backtrack. So here are the two buttons that I was talking about. If you've been given the course ID number, you click here to enroll in a course, then you input that data in the box. If you're still teaching you're a section teacher, but you have not been given any information, then you can create your own course by clicking on that tab. You can search under Spanish if you'd like, for example, French, whatever the language is, and keep going until you find your text and with the picture there. Then you click it, you select that particular program, and from there you can create your own section. So, you know, whatever your scenario might be, but that's pretty simple to do. Now let me go back into the system to show you about how to make assignments and load them to the calendar. Right here you can see the assignment calendar link, and from here to the left what you'll see is all of the possible places where you can go digging for assignments. So I'm just going to choose Chapter 4, and I'm going to go into the SAM, the Student Activity Manual, like I said. Here are the icons I was mentioning. At the point I realized I wasn't sharing my screen. This is for multimedia, audio-visual type activities, and here's the pencil icon, which means it's instructor graded. If you're a first semester instructor, and if you're teaching face-to-face, I would not recommend doing any instructor graded activities. I would simply start with the very basics. To me, that's a best practice, and by basics, I mean all the auto-graded or machine-graded activities. I want you to see, look at this. Look how easy it is to click. Say, these are the assignments that I want. All I do is click, drag, and drop on the appropriate date. But, whoops, I need to get it. Today's the 21st, so there we go. Let me put them over here. So they're due next Thursday. All right, very easy to put those on the calendar. Very easy, just to drag and drop. And then you'll notice that here I have those 3 assignments that I dropped into my calendar and assigned with a due date, that they have blue clocks. As well for the student view, when they log in on their calendar over here, they're going to see a blue clock icon on the day in which something is due in their course. So it's very helpful, a quick stopping point for your students to see, hey, I've got something due today. And we'll look at their view in a moment because they have other ways that they can get into the actual assignments. But basically, now, I've had a question, and my question before is, hey, how do I know which ones of these to choose? Well, are they hard? Are they easy? And there's really no easy way to know. There is a chart under Instructor Resources, if I'm not mistaken, that will give you a little bit more information at a glance as to what these activities are. Let me tell you what I do. I just came into Unidos, and I was not familiar with those assignments. I was creating a brand new template, a master template for courses. I opened every single activity. To me, that's a better way to do it because sometimes right off the bat I can see, I don't want that. That looks too hard. I don't like it. It's not what I'm after, for whatever your reasons might be. So you can, I just do a quick glance, and I say, yeah, I want that one. I click it, I go to the next one. It does take a little bit more time, but that's actually the way I do it. Other instructors say, phooey on that. I'm going to assign all of them, and so they'll check all of them for a given day, and then they'll just uncheck, like if I check like this, and then I go back through and I uncheck the ones with the pencil, and then they decide what they want to drag and drop over and which dates they actually want to assign it. So that is another option for you. Now, from here, let me tell you that, and where are we getting these topics? This is another issue. This is where you're using your syllabus as well as additional information that you may have. You can see how this is arriba, And you can see how the SAMs actually have the titles here and a little prompt telling you what it's about. So if you, on your syllabus, you're not going to have an itemized list of these activities, I don't think. What you may have, though, is that, hey, on next Tuesday, we're covering vocabulary. So that's very helpful to you. You can say, oh, I'm going to get all the vocabulary that are due, and I want them to do that before they come into class. And so you can use the actual titles of the SAM assignments themselves in order to help you determine which activities that you want to assign. Here you move into estructuras, which of course would be your grammatical structure activities and so forth. So that's helpful. The titles are quite illustrative of what and indicative of what the assignment is actually like. Now, I went right into kind of the meat of making assignments, and let me backtrack just a teeny bit. When we look at today's view, I want you to see a few more things here. We're going to come back to the assignment process here in a moment, but that's a real quick, I mean, you may cut out right now in the workshop, I don't know, but a lot of instructors just want to know, how do I assign something really quick, and then they want to get busy with it. But coming back into the actual today's view option, you're going to see this 1, 2, 3, 4, these steps. Your students will see this also, and I cannot overemphasize the importance of running the browser tune-up. When you click on that icon, the browser tune-up is going to come, and it's going to tell you exactly what you need to run and to enjoy full functionality of your MyLanguageLab. You'll need to encourage your students to do this also. It never fails. I just had a student this very morning, who emailed me and said, oh, thank you for telling me to run the browser tune-up because I just ran it. Now I can do all of the things in the lab. So now I had already told her to do that in the syllabus. I told her to do it from, this website, the MyLanguageLab even mentions doing the browser tune-up, but students sometimes don't see all that. So a simple email saying, hey, you need to do this, it really helped her. She ran it and all her issues were solved. Now, you can also see right here they need to, if you're in an online course, for example, you want to make sure that they can voice record, do the live chat, and so forth. So you want to make sure that those items also have checks there. But it'll take you right through it all. All right. Also, just a side note on IT, if you find that you're having a lot of students with issues as far as technical issues with the program, or they're squealing a little bit about those kinds of things, then I always encourage my students to go to the support tab. You can get to it before you get into the lab. Actually, it's from the landing page when you hit MyLanguageLab, and to click the 24/7 Pearson help. There are a lot of FAQs here, but in addition to that, I have my students open a chat window via Contact Us, and they have to go through a little bit of a process beforehand and answer some questions unique to them and to drive down which lab they're actually using. But then from there, once they open a instant message chat box, that entire transcript can be will be emailed to them, and I have them email it to me. That way it shows intention on their part, and they're not just kind of blowing off steam saying, I can't get it to work. I've got to push them to solving their issue because, hey, I've got 15 students already running the lab successfully, no problems there, and I have 2 are struggling. Well, that tells me if 15 can and 2 can't, it has to do with something on the end, on the side of the 2 who can't. It is nothing systemic here. So it has nothing to do with the language lab itself. It is their individual computer. And remember, the browser tune-up needs to be run on every single computer for which the students will be hitting their lab and submitting homework and using it and so forth. So from there, other things here would be you can take a tour if you need to see what the lab is. Setting a time zone might be important. Disabling the pop-ups is going to be also important. So make sure your students are following those first 4 steps to successfully navigate in their lab as well as enjoy full functionality while they're here. As an instructor, you have the option of customizing the view and what you see when you log in, okay? It's always going to look like this unless you change it. And how you change it is by clicking the Customize course, or I'm sorry, the Customize, hitting that tab, And then you can see right now the default view is the welcome message. The actual default view when you first open or create a section is going to be about this course. And this you'll want to keep it like this. I always want to keep it like this for a while because it talks about the lab, it talks about the text, talks about updates, and this is all information for you. The students have their about this course is slightly different. It's written to the student when they look at it. But, you want to scan through here and see if there's anything of interest to you. It talks about training videos, the user guide, things you may find helpful as you dig around in the course and so forth itself. But let's say you want to manipulate and customize this. There's another reason that you would want to do that, and that's because it has to do with student alerts and notifications coming your way. You're going to want to keep a close eye on that. You can find out, and here are all the types of alerts that you have available to you that will be shown to you when you log in. You'll have you can say when you want to be notified if students haven't passed an activity. If students haven't entered the course for so long, you can pick, you can go by the day, you can go by the week, and so forth, even the month. I guess if it's I don't know why you would use that feature, but I usually do 4 days in a traditional class. I just figure that gives them, like if I meet with them on Wednesday and we have class again on Monday, I want them, that's, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, somewhere in there, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they need to be entering their course. So 4 days is pretty good. That way it's a fairly broad safety net, to capture data there, but it's also not too micromanagerial at the same time. So at any rate, you can take a look through what you want to see here and what's important to you as far as an instructor and teaching from this course, what you think is most important. And then you also have the ability to create announcements. It's very easy, but you actually, I say it's very easy, but as you look at it, I might click options first because I see it right there, and I might think, oh, under options it's going to let me create, but this was not quite intuitive to me. You have to go to manage all, which to me implies that those announcements already exist, but this is where you would find the create announcements. Very simple. At this point, you simply click create an announcement. You tell who it's going to go to. You can click the to button, and it automatically, if you're in a section, it automatically checks the section that you're in. So this is the section I'm in. It automatically checked it for me. You can add anyone else. You can choose restrictions there, give it a subject, and then type your announcement and create it. All right, so very easy to manipulate the view when you come in. Now, when we're looking at other tabs here on our main page, you'll see across the top we always come in under today's view. We have the assignment calendar. I've already shown you how to actually assign activities to the actual calendar. And here you have also a tab called Course Materials. And the way I look at this particular tab is as if it is a separate room, if you will, on the laboratory itself. And it's really where everything is housed in the actual course. And, I say everything, and maybe it's not quite everything, but a good chunk of the material that you're going to be using is found here. You can also have stuff put here. You do have a library. I should note that. There is a library function that anytime you create anything or manipulate, it will prompt you to save in the library, and you'll just choose yes. My libraries are very, very messy, but sometimes I do go to them, and the default is that the activities, anything that you create that goes into the library will end up on the last page of the library. So it's sort of organized if you want to look at it like that. So from here, there's one folder, and it doesn't matter. We're looking at Arriba. It doesn't matter if you're doing Unidos, Conexión. It doesn't matter what the text-related lab is, or you're still going to find an instructor resources folder, which has things just for you. And you'll see that there are how-to student videos and even a quiz that accompanies those. If you'd like to assign those to your students, that would be a best practice no matter the delivery mode. Even face-to-face, I assign student videos just to know that I've done my job orienting all my students to the lab, because sometimes it's like, how do I put an accent on there, or how do I submit, how do I go back and review my submission, those types of things. One, I'd show them a video on that. They're very brief, they're nicely done, and it might be very helpful to them. You can also dig deeper and you can look at all of the resources that you have by chapter, and you can, here they're all organized at the chapter folder level, and these are just text resources, but you can see there are quite a few available there for you, including PowerPoints and the scripts that you may need as you go along. So this particular folder is going to be very important to you to visit and find some supplementary activities or reinforcement materials that you can pass on to your students if you would like. Let's talk about how to review activity preferences and then make any adjustments, because the activity preferences, and we're talking about student activity manual activities, are going to be probably what most of us assign. Matter of fact, some instructors say, hey, I just want to use my lab, my Spanish lab or my Italian lab just for the homework. That's all I'm going to use it for. So let me show you something about that, and let's do the otherwise homework-ish activities that are found in the SAM. And because we're talking about preferences, that's the tab that we hit up here on the far right. And think of it like this. There's not a one-size preference for all activities, because if I'm giving a test online, say I teach online, and I give an exam, well, the preferences that I set up for the exam are going to look a lot differently than the preferences that I may set up for a SAM activity or just a homework activity. For example, I may allow 3 submission attempts on an activity, homework activity, but guess what? Only 1 for an exam. So that's a good example of why we have to change the preference settings for each activity type. So when you come under preferences, you click there, then what are we doing? We're going to go dig around and find and set preferences by activity. So click activities. It's loading. From here, you can see now I have this, it says activity. This is a list of all the activities in Arriba that are possible. We have SAM activity, extra practice, practice test, instructor created activities, oral practice, e-text, video, games, web, blah, blah. We have all of these right here. But we're going to work with the preferences just on the SAM activities. So we're going to click Edit Preferences here. Click. Now, you can see here that, I don't know why that's on 20, that right now we're under General, and all of these on the left, General, Messages, Timing, Feedback, etc., here on the left, these are preference settings for each of these topics, just for what? For the SAM activities. All right, so I have these different tabs that are still related to the SAM activities. But it's on the general one, the one that presents with initially, where you can actually set your number of attempts. All right, the standard default for SAM activities is that the number of attempts would be unlimited, but the best practice probably leans considerably more toward allowing the students to try each activity 3 times and then revealing the correct answer after that 3rd submission. So here's where you would come to determine or to set however many attempts you would like to have or offer your students on a given activity. From there, I'm going to go to feedback. Feedback deals with the correct answer, right? Because the correct answer is feedback to the students. And I'm going to say display the correct answer after the student completes the activity. Show correct answer here at attempt 3. So as they attempt 3, they get their score, then they see their correct answers. It's at that point. And hopefully the light bulb will go on for them and they'll say, hey, I understand now why I missed that. I misspelled it. I have the wrong conjugation, or boy, I was way off, or I don't get this at all. Can you help me? So having that kind of feedback really trumps the old-fashioned way of using written homework and workbooks and trying to have an instructor spot check. I mean, there's little accuracy there. All we're doing is just glancing to see if the student's done it, but they could have written the national anthem as an answer for all we know, because we don't have time to grade all that stuff. So that's one of the benefits of MyLanguageLab and the assignments like this. We can a lot of the grading can be left to the machine and save everyone time, and the students love it too. All right, now back in the activities, let's say, whoops, I need to go back over here, and we're editing the preferences. So general for number of attempts, feedback for when the correct answer comes, And then you can do timing. If you want to, this is another common question, is how can I offer grace? So let's say you want to enable a grace period, and every day you want to take off 25% that they're late of their overall grade, up to 100%. You can manipulate that if you like and apply to all and to save that. All right, so that's how you edit, and that's how you determine, set a preference for a particular activity. By the way, you can do that. You saw the button I said save to all and or apply to all. So you can apply to all, or you can simply do it by the individual assignment as well. But for something along these lines, homework, SAM activities, I'm assuming the assumption would be that you're doing that for all of them. All right, now let's take a look at looking up the due date, all right, and the scheduling options that we may have. For our assignments, this goes back into the assignment calendar. And here we have assignments that are already, I'll just click on them on the calendar. They've already been assigned. The system default for the time due is 11:59 p.m. on the day that they were assigned. All right, and you can manipulate that if you would like through the same preferences, coming through, and let me just show you how to do that as well. Now, I'm going to go to, I'm in the general right here. This is, I clicked on preferences right here, and then you can see here, these are general course preferences, very general. I'm not digging around on any one single item like the SAMs. I'm talking about overall. And it's on this page that you'll find make all activities, no matter what they are, a test, a SAM, whatever I assign to the calendar for a due date, assign with the due date, right here's the default. It's 11:59 p.m. So you can change that if you'd like, okay? And that's how you do that. Setting your time zone is also something that may be important to you. There's also the link from today's view that would help walk you through that step as well. All right, the default here is Eastern time, Eastern Daylight Time. One more thing while we're on this view, let's go see what we look like as a student, what this whole thing looks like, what we see. Very similar, isn't it? See, they get the About This course. It tells them a few things that they need to know, all right? They can see right here the calendar and what's due with the grade. But the other thing that they have that's really neat is they can look at it. They have several options of views that they can look at to determine which one they want. And then they can also check the to-do list, which is going to give them an entire list of everything that's due. Students like that. It's a great sense of accomplishment as they say, hey, all this was assigned, and look what I've done. I've already done it. They can actually even begin it. You can see from the start here. Now, all this is past due is because this was already assigned for other students, okay? So they can start an activity just by clicking Start. I'm going to go ahead and show you this so you can see what happens after they submit it. And I'm just going to just go through here and check off the first box on all these. And I'm going to finish and submit for grading. I'm going to get a score, which is going to be less than 100. We know that. So I get a 30. Now I can try again. I can view summary. I can return to course. And so let's say I'm going to return to the course because I want you to see what this looks like on the to-do side. It's going to say not passed, okay? It gives me the icon here of not, or the message here of not being passed. Look what I can do right here. I can actually view that submission that I just turned in. I can see the answers that I put as well as the ones that are marked. By clicking on it, and see my grade. I click on it, and then here it's coming. There it is. That's what I submitted. So this is a way that students can go back and dig around and figure out how they, what they did. All right, and if they want to try again, they can hit it from here as well. They have the option also of seeing what they've completed in the course, and that again is just it's another look for them, another angle to come at the homework that's due, all right? this has to update after a while, so there may be some updating here, but this is just a sample of what you can see. Now I'm going to go switch back to my view. Let's talk about reviewing and editing student submissions and taking a look at the results. Basically, on today's view, and this is not a live course. These students are not in. They finished in April of this class, but you can see all the alerts that I have. I know who hasn't passed, so I can use that information, by the way, to help influence my actual lesson plan on a given day. I can see the students who are idle, which is all of them because none of them have been in this course. It was a class of 13 students. I can see what's past due but's been submitted, and then I can actually act upon that. So when you see the past due submitted, I click that open and a list will come due here. And I think there are some settings here. Normally it would populate. It's not here because there's some inactivity here and there's some other restrictions. But typically when you click on that, you would see a list of items that students have submitted, but they came in after the due date. And then I can either accept or decline them, all right? Now, let's say that, this is where I was going with that. Here's an instructor grading option. So if you have assigned activities that require your individual attention for each and every student submission, then you'll know when those are coming into you because on your notifications panel, it's going to tell you that you have something to grade. So when I check on this, I can see there's one submission that never was looked at. This was actually a part of a live chat that we did. But anyway, this is what it's going to look like when you click on whatever needs grading. You'll see something like this, and check it out. You can grade by the student individually, or you can grade by the question. Now, in this case, there was only one question, so there's no question option. But if you have like an exam that has 5 oral questions and you're grading their answers, their voice recording answers, what I would recommend, unless you've shuffled them, I would grade it question by question. It's a lot quicker, I think, that way to do it. So you're hearing everybody's answer to the question, where are you from? And your feedback can be repeated that way quite, often if they're making the same mistakes and so forth. So it's wonderful. I remember when they added this feature, and I just loved it. So anyway, you would pull up a submission, and I'm just going to pull up this gentleman's. All right. Yeah, there's no submission here, so I have some options. I can delete the submission, resetting it to allow him to actually try it again. Let me go. Oop, took away that. Let me show you here. Okay, here's one that's pending. So I think there was a submission on this one, perhaps. Yeah. All right, and this is. Again, this is actually a live chat, what you're seeing, and we were part of a pilot program for this. But anyway, so here's how the submission was accepted. I could delete it. I could delete all or just this one. And, I can go ahead and revise the grade from this using this function. You can also revise in the grade book, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. You can then save and close, save and next, or cancel. But also, if there were a grade here, for example, on Catherine's, let me go into hers, and she's got a grade. Let's say I want to revise that grade. Then I just click on Edit, and here's where I get to do that. New value over whatever the value was. Comments if I want to go to me. I think those go to me. All right, and then Update. So you do have some options there for grading. It's actually fairly intuitive. It's also simple. But let's take a look at it from the gradebook view. All right, we have, if I want to edit a score from the gradebook view, I go to that particular score. Let's say something I goofed, or instead of writing 95, I wrote 59. And so I can just edit grade here and give the new value. So it's very simple to be able to use the grade book in this case. One other thing, and I actually need, there's a way for us to add global grades to an assignment. So trying to think of how I might be. Let me just pull up another instructor graded assignment that I already have submissions for and see if I can't find something there. Hold on. Let's go find it. All right, here's a writing drill. This will be a good one for us to look at. View submissions. So again, I can grade by students or the questions because there are multiple questions here. So it'll let me do that, and it'll come up. So let's start with, here you go, question 1. I love this feature because all the questions are the same. They're not scrambled. So I just go straight through the list, listening to everybody's comment on qué tiempo más te gusta, what weather do you like the most? And then I'm supposed to answer in complete sentences, etc. So occasionally you'll see some feedback. The default ink color is blue. So let's say I want to offer feedback here. Check it out. All I have to do is go to the box where the student wrote, and then I can say, fantastico, all right, or whatever else I want to say here. I can put it in. I can also use Common Errors tab, which will allow me to auto-populate, or I'm sorry, auto-insert, I guess, whatever the error is. And then students can see very quickly, oh, I missed a dot on that one. Oh, you're not actually providing the answers for them, but you're guiding them to help them learn what their mistakes were. So there are several there that you can use. And then you just click the score and click Save and Next, Save and Next, Save and Next, Save and Next. So you go through all of them very quickly that way. Let's say that you had, let's go back to student view, and let's say we had a student, I'm going back, and let's say Corbin's score here, let's go in here, and let's say that I needed to delete his submission so that, because it's only a single submission attempt, one is allowed, then I would just come in here and say all submissions, delete them, which would be this activity, all submissions. So it'd be very easy to come in and do that. And you can also, when they come in on your, I already showed you when a late assignment comes in on your panel, you can accept or decline or deny that particular assignment that's coming in late. There's a way, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get to it under View Submissions. I think I have to be actually in the grade mode. Like initially when I come in and I haven't graded something. Let me see if I can go find that one activity again on my Today's View. Maybe that'll let me do it. I have the option of giving a global grade to all students. Let's say that I have an activity assigned that is really just participation only. There's not a real analysis of the content, but rather I just want students to participate and show me they can. Very common for early semester, early launch activities. For example, let's say you just want them to record read a passage and record their voices so that they can check to see if their microphones and recording devices are all functioning. Then that would be a case where you just want to give everybody the same score, just if they participated. So you can actually assign you can give a global grade. Let me go back in. I'm trying to reproduce that, but because I have a strange submission there with no active students, that's harder. And yet this semester I don't have folks submitting stuff just yet. But let me see if I want to edit grades. All right, I'm going to produce this for us. Let's say edit grades, and then it's at this point, and I just went on the column, and okay, so it's down here. Here, now, you can see I can actually edit grades. I can assign an aggregate score or a global score with a comment also to everyone. Now, which kind? Students with submissions or students in the course, all right? Probably you're going to want to only give that score to students who have actually submitted. And you're going to say, if you submit this, no matter what, you show me that you can voice record, you get 100. So, or if you submit, I don't care, just checking off that you read the ethics agreement, you're going to give them points for that. Then that's how you would do it. So you would just say everyone gets a 100, all right, and then you do save and go from there. So it's very easy to do that. That's how you would assign global grades. All right. As far as due dates, if you want to there's a feature that you can also make available a particular assignment. So I'm going to go back in to today's view, and let's say I've got an exam that I'm going to give in my online class. I'm pulling up one right now. You have a test folder up here that will actually populate over here for you. But let's say I've got exam number 1, and I'm going to actually, I want to influence the time that it's available for students. I want to change that. Then I go to the properties, and here we have that I'm going to say it's assigned, and then this is the due date. It was August 21st. That's today. Actually, it goes to that default. And then I want to set an availability date range. Then I can do that. Start date, end date. If you want a little green icon on the calendar, a little flag that tells them, hey, something's coming up, I'm just flagging you on that, know that you're going to have to do something here shortly. Those are very helpful, and that will appear on your calendar if you say to show a notification, availability notification on the calendar. Otherwise, it'll show on the date that it's due, and it'll say that it's available, and it'll give the range of time that students can open it. Won't be permitted to open it unless it's within that time range. All right, so I think we've talked about editing grades, how to do that. One more record-keeping skill from the gradebook side would be, and it's coming right now, would be managing your roster. Sometimes students, believe it or not, accidentally enroll twice, or there's any number of issues. But you'd come into the gradebook, think about your academic grades. Those are your, that's the beef kind of what you're dealing with, the measurements and so forth. And closely associated with that, of course, would be your roster. So by clicking the Manage Roster, you have some options here, things that you can do as you're attempting to manage the roster. And you've got you can say, okay, I want him to be denied because he's actually been dropped from my course. You don't want him to keep coming in, so you would come over here. If a student drops your course and is already registered, you would just deny their access here. You can also invite users to come in. You can choose what you want to see. Maybe you want to see all those that you denied. Let's say you denied this gentleman and then he was in, but you took him out, but then he paid his bill or his financial aid came in, so now you're going to pick him back up by this way. You're going to view him, click on his name, there's somebody here, and then grant access again. You can also download the roster and compare this roster to your institutional roster at a quick glance. We're really talking about how to track their process or progress as well, and to analyze their results. From the, you can run reports. Here's an example. I'm still in the grade book. You can see because it's all yellow and all these are all my options here. You can do activity results by students, by activities, by plan results, or even a digging deeper question analysis for a little bit more detailed information about your student performance. All right, so that's one, the course reports that you can run. You can also, let me go back to today's view, and I'll show you how you can, by the way, while I'm here, I want to show you how you can dig down to an itemized list of your students' grades. These are all columns that I have created, numeric and calculated columns that I've actually created, and there is a workshop on like dealing with the grade book. Some of the workshops deal a little bit more extensively with it. If you ever need an extra hour or so, or you would like someone, a faculty advisor, to help you set up your grade book, well, that's exactly what we like to do. We like to provide that kind of support for other folks, and we could do that very quickly in a one-on-one with you. So keep that in mind if you need that. But let's say we want to dig deeper and see what this, actually I'm going to go to Chapter 8, see what the students have done in an individual chapter. You click on the chapter, and then you go to the, for example, in this case, the Student Activity Manual, and you'll get the play-by-play on what they've done. All right, I've got all the activities loaded here and exactly what was due, what they had actually. I didn't want to go to Chapter 2 because we only did the last chapters, but let me present just to show you. move to Chapter 8, and then go to the SAMs, and you're going to see all their activities, as well as the folder level. If you're transporting grades from here over into Blackboard or something along those lines, you can get the folder update, which will just keep that chapter. So if you want to input those scores chapter by chapter into Blackboard, you can do that easily enough. And see, this gives their scores on every single activity, exact score that they have. You can check their number of attempts and so forth, as well as manipulate. The other way to actually track student progress and analyze the results would be from today's view and your notifications panel. You have performance. So let's say I want to see how my students are performing, then I click on that, the tab for student performance, and then it's loading right now, but I'm going to see every student listed as well as some very important information about them. You can look when they were, what their overall composite grade is, as well as how much of the course content they have actually completed that was assigned. Believe it or not, these numbers are very high, but they're lower because I assigned a whole bunch of new activities preparing these students to take the CLEP, and some of them weren't taking the CLEP, so they don't have high scores there because those scores actually filtered in. So it's really not, none of this is really true, but still it's high. You can tell that. These are very, very gifted students and on task and so forth. You can see exactly by the sum of how much time they've actually spent on the task of completing the work that's been assigned in their course, and it's staggering. You see quickly that some students spend much more time than others. Others just kind of come in and do the minimal amount of work, whereas others really, really dig deep and stay in there and keep using that for practice. And oftentimes you can look at this time on task and make a correlation, or you can relate it, compare it to your overall course grade and see if you can't find some interesting correlations there on the amount of time that they're actually on task versus their final course grade. All right, so these are great reporting tools for you to look at as you're analyzing your student progress. By the way, one more thing, and I already briefly went to this, but this is a not passed. This function here will tell you, let's say if I come over to this and it's a larger number and I see, wow, half my class didn't pass this activity, well, that's helpful information to me as the instructor, and it will influence what I talk about with my students in the next class. So you can actually use some of the reporting functions here and features in order to better inform you on what the needs are in a particular class and where your students are struggling, where you may need to spend a little bit of extra time with them as the instructor. Finally, along these same lines, we get to intervention strategies, because this has everything to do with my involvement as the instructor in their progress, their success as students. Are they actually achieving the goals that I have set out for them as far as the course? Are they progressing? And what can I do to help? And early intervention is so important. It's critically important those first several weeks. I've got to be checking almost daily to see what students are doing, who's behind, who's not with it, who's still not in the lab yet, whose financial aid hasn't come in, all those different scenarios, who continues to fail. And in fact, if they have a past due not submitted, you can see there are a lot of activities. A lot of times, and early on, I'm looking at this very, very carefully. Every day I'm looking at it. And I would just highlight all of that, open up an email, and I would send just a message that says past due not submitted in Spanish, and send it to the student, and then they're going to go, oh, what's happening? And I would require them to then report back to me a strategy to help them succeed in the course, and what are they going to do differently to do better. So this takes me all of a minute, maybe 2 minutes per student to do that, but the benefit of that in retention, showing an intention on my part to help those students to say, hey, you want to come to my office? Do you need an extra tutoring hour? Let me recommend this to you. What are you going to do, student, to get yourself back on track? All of those are very important steps that I can take fairly easy based on the reporting tools that are available to me within the lab. Fairly easy for me to do that. So. And also, how am I going to communicate with my students? I can do it simply by the Communicate tab. If you've enabled email within the course, as you can see here, students can write emails back and forth. There's also Blackboard Collaborate, which as you come in to today's view, another way that you can chat with them is by installing Blackboard Collaborate. It's a free application within my Language Lab. I'll show you what it looks like here. I'll go ahead and pull it up. You can see the students that I use it in an online class, but I also use it face-to-face. My students love it. It doesn't take long to download. It's under the Communicate tab. You do have to enable it at the section level for any course that you're teaching at that section level. And then you'll see what happens is here I've got 2 students online right now, James Calhoun and Jesse Crouch. And I show myself as available, so if they want to open a chat window with me, all they have to do is click on my name. Of course, they see my name. They'll click on my name, a chat window opens, and then they can say, hey, I didn't understand that activity, or hey, I wanted to tell you I won't be in class tomorrow because of X, Y, Z. It shows availability on your part. It's a great method to use. There are collaborative tools available as well. You can do group chats. You can have peer tutoring going on. You can do collaborative measures and so forth as well. So basically, in this particular workshop, we have gone over very quickly how to set your course up, things to consider in your course as you're setting it up. From the very beginning, you're given the course ID, and then I don't know whether you run with it or whether you do nothing because it's already been done for you, but there's a great variation there in what your role might be. But some of the simple things would be you to definitely get to know the lay of the land, so to speak, figure out what these tabs mean, where are the most important materials for me, how do I manipulate the grade book, how do I run reports. Anyway, it's a very brief, a very quick orientation for you on just the basics as a course instructor teaching a section, an individual section. There are other workshops available to you, which I would, again, encourage you to attend, to register for those workshops and attend them. If you need a separate time just with the faculty advisor, you can also go through your book rep to submit a faculty request form to request, just tailored just for you. Maybe you just want help setting up the grade book, and one of the advisors can spend some time with you doing just that and give you very personalized attention, so that's also available for you. You also have the Help tab here is going to give you some important information, just a quick way to type it in. What do you need? Here it goes. Use this function. Use under the user guide is right here, so it's another way to come at the material. There's also a wonderful toolkit, which is I think referenced in your participants guide, which itemizes some of the actual activities, resources, and tools within the lab that may help you as you're trying to determine what you want to assign and why you're assigning it when you're trying to achieve those course objectives and you're looking for measurable outcomes. Also, speaking of measurable outcomes and reporting, if you would like Pearson to step in, they have a wonderful efficacy team, and they're very interested in the data that your course may be able to provide. They will work with you and develop a report really detailing how your students have done, and they will use the statistics within the system, the lab, your course itself, to corroborate the data that they collect and to produce a report at the end of the term, which would even help you design, make changes, develop your program, or push yourself in a new direction, or change something, tweak, and continue to get better and better and better. But the idea is to let the technology work for us because the mechanisms are in place already. So again, I really appreciate your involvement here, and if you have any questions, you can contact me personally. My phone number is 502-320-1067, and my email, the very best one to locate or to contact me by, would be vwalker1@outlook.com. So blessings on your upcoming class, and please reach out if you have any questions at all.